Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we will discuss development of pharyngeal arches, pouches, grooves and clefts. Pharyngeal apparatus, pharyngeal arches, pharyngeal grooves, pharyngeal clefts and pharyngeal membrane. They are collectively known as pharyngeal apparatus. In the head and neck region of 4-week human embryo somewhat resembles these regions of a fish embryo of comparable stage. This explains the former use of name branchial apparatus. Branchia is derived from a Greek word which means gill. So as the gills were present in the fish embryo, so this apparatus was known as branchial apparatus. But now the anatomists, they have decided that in human being, as the branchia do not develop, they will use the word pharyngeal apparatus, pharyngeal arches, pharyngeal pouches, pharyngeal clefts in human being. So pharyngeal apparatus, as I have already explained to you, consists of pharyngeal arches, pharyngeal pouches, pharyngeal grooves, pharyngeal clefts and pharyngeal membrane. Pharyngeal arches began to develop early in the 4th week as the neural crest cell migrate into the head and neck region. The first pharyngeal arch appears as a surface elevation lateral to the developing pharynx. Soon other arches appear as obliquely displayed rounded ridges on each side of the future head and neck region. So here in this diagram you can see this nasal placard from which the nose will develop. Then this one is the lens placard from which the lens of eyeball will develop. Then these 1, 2, 3, 4s. These are the developing pharyngeal arches, 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. And this depression which is present cranial to the first pharyngeal arch, this is the stomodium. Stomodium will develop into future mouth. 4th arch form cricothyroid, levator veli palatini and constrictor of the pharynx. 6th pharyngeal arch form the intrinsic muscles of the larynx. So this intrinsic muscles of the larynx, as the nerve of the 6th pharyngeal arch is recurrent laryngeal nerve, it is supplied by the motor supply is recurrent laryngeal nerve. 4th pharyngeal arch cricothyroid and levator palati and constrictor of the pharynx, they are supplied by the superior laryngeal nerve. The 3rd pharyngeal arch stylopharyngeus is derived by the palatopharyngeal muscle. The 2nd pharyngeal arch, they are derived from the 2nd pharyngeal arch muscle, the facial expression and other muscle, they are supplied by the facial nerve, while the muscle, the 1st pharyngeal arch, they are supplied, motor supply is by the mandibular nerve. So in this diagram you can see these derivatives. These orange color muscles, they are derivatives of 1st pharyngeal arch. While the muscles of facial expression which are shown by these lighter color muscles, they are derivatives of 2nd pharyngeal arch, while these muscles, the remaining muscle stylopharyngeus, this is derivatives of the 3rd pharyngeal arch, while the intrinsic muscles of the larynx, they are derived from the 6th pharyngeal arch, So in this diagram, you can see these muscles which are derived from different pharyngeal arches. Now pharyngeal arch nerve. Trigeminal nerve, it has got three branches: ophthalmic division, maxillary and mandibular. The lower two, maxillary and mandibular, they supply derivatives of the first pharyngeal arch. The facial nerve supplies the second pharyngeal arch. Glossopharyngeal nerve supplies the muscles of the third pharyngeal arch, and the two branches of vagus. Superior laryngeal supplies the derivatives of fourth pharyngeal arch, while the recurrent laryngeal supplies the derivatives of sixth pharyngeal arch. Fourth pharyngeal arch is supplied by the superior laryngeal branch of vagus, and sixth arch derivatives, they are supplied by the recurrent laryngeal branches. Now here you can see these cranial nerves, they are shown. Trigeminal nerve, which is shown by 5, it has got 3 branches. The ophthalmic division supplies the frontonasal process, while the remaining 2 branches, maxillary branch supplies the maxillary prominence, while mandibular branch supplies the mandibular prominence. The second arch cartilage is ossified to form the lesser horn and superior part of the body of the hyoid bone, as I have already explained on the diagram. The perichondrium form the stylohyoid ligament. Second, now derivatives of the pharyngeal arch cartilages. We are coming now to the third arch cartilage ossified to form greater horn and the inferior part of the body of the hyoid bone. The fourth and sixth arch cartilages fuses to form the laryngeal cartilages, except the epiglottis, which develops from the hypopharyngeal eminence. The fifth pharyngeal arch is rudimentary and it degenerates and have got no derivatives. Now in this diagram again, as we have discussed, we can revise them. Derivatives of first pharyngeal arch: incus malleus, anterior ligament of malleus, sphenomandibular ligament and mandible. Second pharyngeal arch: stapes, which is the third bone of the middle ear, styloid process of the temporal bone, stylohyoid ligament, upper part of body of hyoid bone and lesser horn. While the third pharyngeal arch cartilage: greater carnu and lower part of body, and the fourth and sixth arch cartilages, they form the cartilages of the larynx, that is the thyroid, cricoid, arytenoid cartilages. Musculature. Now we have seen that there was present the mesenchyme in the center of each pharyngeal arch. This mesenchyme is converted into muscles. The musculature of the first pharyngeal arch form the muscles of mastication: lateral pterygoid, medial pterygoid, masseter and temporalis. These are known as muscles of mastication. The second pharyngeal arch form the stapedius, stylohyoid, posterior belly of digastric, auricular and muscles of facial expression. These muscles of facial expression, they have got one attachment in the skin, so facial expressions, they are produced by this muscle. The derivatives of first pharyngeal arch musculature: one is the muscles of mastication, interior belly of digastric, then is the mylohyoid muscle. So then the third arch derivative is only one muscle, stylopharyngeus. Fourth arch form cricothyroid, levator veli, palatini and constrictor of the pharynx. Sixth pharyngeal arch form the intrinsic muscles of the larynx. So this intrinsic muscles of the larynx, as the nerve of the sixth pharyngeal arch is recurrent laryngeal nerve, it is supplied by the motor supply is recurrent laryngeal nerve. Fourth pharyngeal arch cricothyroid, and levator palatii, which are the two of the three bones which are present in the middle ear, and they convey the sound waves from the eardrum to the inner ear. So, two of the middle ear cartilages, middle ear bones, they develop from the dorsal end of the first arch cartilage. The middle part of the cartilage, first cartilage, form anterior ligament of malleus bone and the sphenomandibular ligament. The ventral part of first arch cartilage form the primordium of the mandible. The cartilage disappears as the mandible develops around it. So here in this diagram you can see these derivatives of cartilage of first pharyngeal arch. Here you can see these are the two middle ear bones, incus and malleus. Then this is the anterior red one is the anterior ligament of the malleus, while this one is the sphenomandibular ligament, while the ventral part is developing into the mandible. Now derivatives of cartilage of the second pharyngeal arch, you can see the third bone of the middle ear, that is the stapes. It develops from the dorsal part of the cartilage of second pharyngeal arch. Then styloid process of the temporal bone, it also develops from this dorsal part. In between, from the styloid process to the hyoid bone, this cartilage is converted into stylohyoid ligament, while its ventral part, it forms the upper portion of the body of the hyoid bone and lesser carno of the hyoid bone, this green one. You can see these are the derivatives of cartilage of second pharyngeal arch. Then cartilage of the third pharyngeal arch, it develops into lower part of the body of the hyoid bone and greater corn or greater horn of the hyoid bone, while the fourth and the sixth pharyngeal arch cartilage develop into cartilages of the larynx, that is the thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage and the remaining other cartilages of the larynx. First cartilage we have discussed its derivative. The dorsal end of the second arch cartilage ossify to form the stapes and styloid process of the temporal bone. The ventral end of the second arch cartilage is ossified to form the lesser horn and superior part of the body of the hyoid bone, as I have already explained on the diagram. The perichondrium form the stylohyoid ligament. Second, now derivatives of the pharyngeal arch. Here this is the section showing you pharyngeal arches. This one is the first pharyngeal arch, then is the second, third and fourth. You can see on the ectodermal side or outer side, the second pharyngeal arches is growing so that it buries the third and fifth and touches the sixth. So in this way, this communication is known as cervical sinus. Then at the 7th week, this cervical sinus, its outer continuity disappears and it forms the rounded shape of the neck. Fate of pharyngeal arches. A typical pharyngeal arch consists of an aortic arch, which is an artery that arises from the truncus arteriosus of the primordial heart, and then posteriorly or dorsally it is continuous with the dorsal aorta of the same side. For example, the aortic arch of the right side, which is an artery, will be continuous with the dorsal aorta of right side, while the aortic arch of the left side will be continuous with the dorsal aorta of the left side. One component. Second component is a cartilaginous rod that form the skeleton of the arch. Third component is the muscular component that differentiate into the muscles in the head and neck region. A nerve that supplies the mucosa and muscles derived from the arch. That means this nerve supplies motor as well as carries the sensory innervation from the corresponding arch. The nerve of the first pharyngeal arch is the mandibular nerve. Second pharyngeal arch is the facial nerve. Third pharyngeal arch is the grassopharyngeal nerve. Fourth pharyngeal arch is the superior laryngeal nerve. And the sixth one is the recurrent laryngeal nerve. Now in this diagram you can see the pharyngeal arch arteries. Here you can see on the ventral side these pharyngeal arch arteries, they are continuous with they are arising from the truncus arteriosus of the developing heart. Then they are passing through the corresponding arch, and dorsally they are continuous with the dorsal aorta. So in this way, first, second, third, fourth and sixth pharyngeal arch arteries you can see, they are visible in this diagram. Derivatives of pharyngeal arch cartilages. The first pharyngeal arch cartilage, it become elongated. The dorsal end of the first pharyngeal arch cartilage, which is known as Meckel's cartilage, it ossifies and it forms malleus and incus, which are the two of the three bones which the fifth and sixth arches are rudimentary and are not visible on the surface of the embryo. The pharyngeal arches are separated from each other by fissures called pharyngeal grooves. They are numbered in craniocaudal sequence. The first pharyngeal arch, also known as mandibular arch, develops from maxillary and mandibular prominences. These two prominences are part of first pharyngeal arch. The first pair of pharyngeal arches play a major role in the facial development. The second pharyngeal arch, hyoid arch, contribute to the formation of hyoid bone. Here you can see this purple one is maxillary part of first pharyngeal arch, while the blue one is the mandibular part of the first pharyngeal arch. You can see they are placed on right and left side of the face, obliquely placed. Pharyngeal arch component. Each pharyngeal arch consists of a core of mesenchyme. In the center, mesenchyme is present. It is covered externally by the ectoderm and internally by the endoderm. In the third week, the original mesenchyme is derived from mesoderm. During the fourth week, most of the mesenchyme is derived from the neural crest cell, which migrate into the pharyngeal arches. The pharyngeal arches contribute exclusively to the formation of face, nasal cavities, mouth, larynx, pharynx and neck. During the fifth week, the second pharyngeal arch enlarges on the external side and overgrow the third and fourth arches. As fifth arch is not present, it touches the sixth arch, forming the ectodermal depression called the cervical sinus. By the end of the seventh week, the second to fourth pharyngeal grooves and cervical sinus have disappeared, giving the neck a smooth shape. Now you can see now in these diagrams, you can see the pharyngeal arches, first, second, third and fourth, and a depression stomodium. Here, this is the section showing you pharyngeal arches. This one is the first pharyngeal arch, then is the second, third, and fourth. You can see on the ectodermal side or outer side, the second pharyngeal arches is growing so that it buries the third and fifth. Now here you can see these cranial nerves, they are shown. Trigeminal nerve, which is shown by 5, it has got 3 branches. The ophthalmic division supplies the frontonasal process, while the remaining 2 branches, maxillary branch supplies the maxillary prominence, while mandibular branch supplies the mandibular prominence. 7th cranial nerve, facial nerve, green in color, and the arch is shown as green, so it is supplying the muscles of derived from the second pharyngeal arch. 9th cranial nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve, it is supplying the third pharyngeal arch derivatives, while the vagus nerve is supplying the 4th and 6th pharyngeal arch derivatives. Pharyngeal pouches. Pharyngeal pouches, they are the depression present between the 2 pharyngeal arches on inside the pharynx. It is covered by endoderm or lined by endoderm. The pharyngeal pharynx narrows caudally and it joins the esophagus. Endoderm of the pharynx lines the internal aspect of the pharynx. It also covers the arches and passes into balloon-like diverticula called pharyngeal pouches. Now here you can see this is inside of the pharynx, which is yellowish in color. Here you can see between the 2 pharyngeal arches, that is between the first and second pharyngeal arch, first pharyngeal pouch is present. Between the second and third, second pharyngeal pouch is present. Between the third and fourth, fourth pharyngeal pouch is present. And between the fourth and sixth, the fifth pharyngeal pouch is present. So in this way you can see these are different pharyngeal pouches. The pair of pouches develop in a craniocaudal sequence between the arches. The first pair of pouches lies between the first and second pharyngeal arch. There are four well-developed pair of pharyngeal pouches. The fifth pair is absent or rudimentary. 4 pharyngeal pouches. The endoderm of the pouches contact the ectoderm of the pharyngeal groove, and together they form double-layered pharyngeal membrane that separate the pharyngeal pouches inside from the pharyngeal grooves or pharyngeal cleft present on the outer side and ectodermal side. Derivatives of first pharyngeal pouch. The first pharyngeal pouch expand into an elongated tubotympanic recess. The expanded distal part of this recess contacts the first pharyngeal groove, where it contributes to the formation of tympanic membrane. Here the lymphoid tissue develops and palatine tonsils develop from this. The derivatives of second pharyngeal pouch. Tonsil crypts, and about 20 weeks the mesenchyme around the crypts differentiate into the lymphoid tissue. These tissues soon organize into the lymphatic nodules of the palatine tonsils. Third pharyngeal pouch expand and develop as a solid dorsal bulbar part and a hollow elongated ventral part. Its connection with the pharynx is reduced to a narrow duct and soon degenerate. By the 6th week, the epithelium of each dorsal bulbar part differentiate into the inferior parathyroid gland. The epithelium of the elongated ventral part of the third pharyngeal pouch proliferate and their cavities obliterate. These bilateral primordia right and left form the thymus, and they come together into the median plane. It descends into the superior mediastinum. The bilobe form of thymus remain throughout life. Here you can see this one is the inferior parathyroid, while the ventral part is developing into the thymus. Derivatives of third pharyngeal pouch, primordia of the thymus and inferior parathyroid gland, they develop from the third pharyngeal pouch. Now fourth pharyngeal pouch, it again expand into dorsal bulbar part and elongated ventral part. Its connection with the pharynx is reduced to a narrow duct and soon degenerate. By the 6th week, each dorsal part develop into superior parathyroid gland. So you can note the inferior parathyroid gland develops from the third pharyngeal pouch, while the superior parathyroid gland develops from the third pharyngeal pouch. It lies on the dorsal surface of the thyroid gland. Now the ventral part of the fourth pharyngeal pouch, it develops into the ultimopharyngeal body, which will develop into the parafollicular cells or C cells of the thyroid gland, which are responsible for controlling the calcium level, serum calcium level. Derivatives of the fourth pharyngeal pouch, we have already discussed this. Histogenesis of parathyroid gland. The epithelium of the dorsal part of the third and fourth pharyngeal pouch proliferate during the 5th week, form small nodule on the dorsal aspect of the each pouch. Vascular mesenchyme soon give rise into these nodules, forming the capillary network. So the chief arterial grooves are pharyngeal cleft present on the outer side and ectodermal side. Derivatives of first pharyngeal pouch. The first pharyngeal pouch expand into an elongated tubotympanic recess. The expanded distal part of this recess contacts the first pharyngeal groove, where it contributes to the formation of tympanic membrane eardrum. The cavity of the tubotympanic recess gave rise to the tympanic cavity and mastoid antrum, while the remaining part, ventral part, become the auditory tube. Here you can see this is the first pharyngeal pouch present between the first pharyngeal arch and the second pharyngeal arch. Derivatives of the second pharyngeal pouch. Here the endoderm penetrate into the underlying mesenchyme and it forms the lymphoid tissue, and the palatine tonsils develop here. Second pharyngeal pouch is largely obliterated as the palatine tonsils develop here. Part of the cavity of this pouch remain as the tonsillar sinus or tonsillar fossa. The endoderm of the pouch proliferate and grow into the underlying mesenchyme. The central part of these buds form the tonsillar crypts. Here you can again see this red second pharyngeal pouch. Here the lymphoid tissue develops and palatine tonsils develop from this. The derivatives of second pharyngeal pouch. Tonsil crypts, and about 20 weeks the mesenchyme around the crypts differentiate into the lymphoid tissue. These tissues soon organize into the lymphatic nodules of the palatine tonsils. Third pharyngeal pouch expand and develop as a solid dorsal bulbar part and a hollow elongated ventral part. Its connection with the pharynx is reduced to a narrow duct and soon degenerate. By the 6th week, the epithelium of each dorsal bulbar part differentiate into the inferior parathyroid gland. The epithelium of the elongated ventral part of the third pharyngeal pouch proliferate and their cavities obliterate. These bilateral primordia, right and left, form the thymus and they come together into the median plane. It descends into the superior mediastinum. The bilobed form of thymus remain throughout life. Here you can see this one is the inferior parathyroid while the ventral part is developing.